Hello, culture power people. Guess who I'm here with? I am so happy I'm here with Mary Onyango. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Stacey. I am so glad to be here. And I'm a little
So
nervous.
don't be nervous. Oh, please. So Mary and I go way back, like way back to the start of our fitness careers back in New York. Those of you who don't know, I live in Massachusetts now. So she has been a friend of mine, a touchstone for some time. And if you Google her, you will see her all over the place doing all kinds of intense exercising. She's like a super person. She is a superwoman, a superhero. So I'm really excited, Mary, as I just told you, to just kind of connect about who you are when you're not jumping onto boxes and teaching all kinds of classes to people. Because people look at you probably and they're like, wow, she is like next level fit. But there's so much more to you that I think the public needs to know. So let's start from the beginning. Who are you? Where do you live?
So from the beginning, I go by the name Mary O in the fitness industry, partially because I don't want to constantly correct people on how to pronounce my last name,
Yeah.
but also because my last name is really long. So it's Mary Onyango. I was originally born in Kenya, and we came to the United States in 1989. I
Okay.
am yeah, no, long time ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did actually start school in Kenya. So it's still very like school is very vivid. Living in Nairobi is vivid. Living in the countryside, it's still very vivid in my mind. And my goal is to go back home one day and to start a business there. But that we could talk about that later. That's like
Yeah.
my next career. So I'm the middle of five children, and
Hi.
five exact middle. Crazy. I have an older sister, and everybody else are boys. I love my boys and my brothers, my older brother, my two younger brothers. And so the house was just it was very full. It was very full, but I do believe that my siblings are my best friends. I always had
Yeah.
somebody to talk to, somebody to go places with, someone to confide in. So that's me, 1989, I think.
Wow. But you know what, Mary? In all these years, I
Yeah.
don't think I knew that you migrated here in the 80s because I came here in 80, I want to say 85, 86.
Oh,
So for the 80s were like on and popping when I got to America. I was like, okay, hello, hi tops. What was it like for you when and how old were you? Do you mind sharing how old you were?
yeah, sure. I mean, you know what? Yeah, I just joined the 40 club, by the way, last year. So
Woo-hoo!
this year I'm
Welcome,
officially hitting
girl.
that age.
Welcome. It's fun
So
over
I'm
here.
19. What?
I said it's fun over here in the 40s.
I mean, I think it really is. And I'm not embarrassed to say how old I am. I'm actually very proud to let people know how old I am. So in 1989, I was 7 years old when I came to the United States. It was an interesting experience. I already spoke English because in Kenya, you speak English and Swahili and your tribal language. So school is taught in British English.
Mm-hmm.
Swahili is the national language, which you kind of just have to know to do general business. And then our tribal language is Dolo, which is what we spoke at home. Um,
Cool.
yeah, right.
You're trilingual.
I was trilingual. I don't speak Swahili anymore though, because when we came to the US, we stopped speaking Swahili.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I already knew English, it put me at an advantage because I could communicate. However, we moved straight to this part of New York called Riverdale,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very affluent neighborhood. Lots of homes, but it's predominant at the time in 1989, it was predominantly white,
Mm-hmm.
Irish and Jewish. So being one of a few black families in the neighborhood it was very interesting. I grew up around a lot of white people, and I had like to me, I didn't really care
Yeah.
because that's just all that I knew. But when I got to high school, that's when it was like a big culture shock. And I went to this big school. I think there were 6,000 students.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. And it was predominantly Hispanic and Black. So trying to fit in a Hispanic and Black school after growing up in a predominantly white school was also an experience,
Wow. So you had like two experiences. You were trying to fit in when you got to this new neighborhood of predominantly
Mhm.
white people, probably didn't look anything like home. And
Mhm.
then you then had to like assimilate there, right?
Yeah.
And then again in high school, now you're with Black America, Hispanic America, and had to re-assimilate there too. What was assimilation like for you in both of those instances?
Um, Sheesh. I don't even know where to start because I think I probably blocked out a lot of the experience. It was really hard, because
Yeah.
people look at your skin color and they look at your hair and they're like, oh, great, yes, she's Black. And then you speak, they're like, oh no, what's going on here? That's not the accent I was expecting.
Yeah.
I didn't really listen to hip hop, so it was just like I couldn't find my place
Yeah.
at all. I
Yeah.
think I spent 3 years trying to find my place
Yep.
amongst Black people and finding friends. And ultimately, my circle of friends ended up being very multicultural,
Yeah.
Chinese, Indian, Black, European, because I felt like they understood my experience and where I was coming from. And I didn't constantly have to prove myself.
Right.
Um,
Being Black enough, or yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do think that immigrants have an immigration story and an assimilation story. And something that, I've been pointing out or noticing more for myself on these interviews, these chats, is you can over assimilate, but you don't really know it until hindsight, right? So did you
Mhm.
find that there are parts of yourself that you shoved down a little bit too far, and things that you wish you had continued that you didn't throughout your
Yeah, absolutely. I think growing up in elementary and middle school, I wish that that's when it was predominantly white. I wish that I wasn't so afraid to speak my language in public with my friends,
yeah.
or to wear my cultural clothes to school, because now that I'm older, I feel like had I done that, then it may have made it easier for me in high school, but also as an adult teaching it back to my daughter, you
Yeah.
know?
Well,
Um,
I feel like that age though, that age is the age that you want to fit in, not stand out. Yeah.
you mean her age, Valentina's age?
No, I mean like your age when you came here and you're like
Yeah.
getting older. As you get older in the teenage years, you're like, trying to shrink back a little bit so you're just like
Right.
everybody else. So it's totally normal.
Yeah, I guess looking back at it, it absolutely is. It is normal. But I wish I had the confidence to just, be like, this is who I am. You better accept me for who I am. And that's it, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely one way to tell the story back then. It was like either you were American or you were something else. And people were constantly trying to figure out, what are you? Where are you from with that accent? Why do you talk that way?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, one of my sources of pride was like when people would say, well, you don't sound Jamaican. And when I was younger, I thought that was a compliment. And then as I got
Mhm.
older, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, but I kind of want to sound Jamaican.
Yeah.
You kind of like shove that part away. So, all right. So little Mary goes to this high school and she comes out with a circle of friends that is multi-hued, multicultural. Then what happens?
Oh, Jesus. um, well, and then college happened, you know.
Yeah.
I was always into sports. So I think that for me, going through all of this, going to training and going to practice, that was my outlet. It just helped me to get all my frustration. I didn't really have anger, but it helped me really find a place to fit in with other people who are like-minded and didn't judge you for who you were. It was
Yes.
all athleticism. So I got to college and I took a job as a personal trainer. But I continued to make friends with people. My circle of friends has always been multicultural, even in college. I did find that in college it was still a little bit difficult to fit in as well, but it didn't matter to me as much.
Yeah.
So
Because you
yeah,
were stronger. You felt like you had like a stronger inner core.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what kind of training are you talking about?
Personal training.
But before that, when you said you were in training, were you doing a sport
Oh,
kind?
practice gymnastics, track, did a
Wondering where you
lot.
got those shoulders, girl. I was looking at those arms. I'm like, those are gymnastics arms.
They are all those darn handstands all day long, you know. But yeah, no, I started out with gymnastics, and then in high school, that's when I really got into volleyball, and then I got a scholarship to partial scholarship to John Jay for volleyball.
Wow.
Yeah,
Again, something else I didn't know about you. Didn't know that. Wow.
yeah.
I knew that you were athletic because it's clear, right, by your
Mhm.
athletic prowess, for lack of a better word. But I didn't know that, you actually went that route in school. That's really interesting. So while you're in college, I mean, are you still bringing parts of your Kenyan self to the world, or are you assimilating more at this point?
I'm assimilating more. College, I think for me was a little bit of, it was challenging, because I was just going through a lot of things at home with my family, my parents. My mom got sick, and then I left home, and it was just like a long time of just kind of being lost and
Yeah.
finding myself, So it was hard to preserve my Kenyan culture, but I also wanted to find out who I was,
Yeah.
because I that feeling of wanting to be part of something was
Right.
at the back of my head.
Yeah.
Um, but something to talk about with you too, because I've also noticed that throughout our years as friends, you've changed your hair a lot.
Yes, I have.
So we have to talk about hair because I feel like hair is such a big thing in every phase of my life. Whenever I was going through a transition, it started with my hair. I either
Yep.
chopped off my hair, I put braids, I put locks, I straightened my hair, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about that right now because in college it was the same thing. It's like, okay, I got to find my identity, and the first place it's going to start is my hair. All
Yep.
right, now, right?
Yep.
Did you feel that way?
I sure did. Well, when I came to grade school in the States, I refused to be part of the culture that was obsessed with hair. I was just like, first of all, I wasn't very good at it, and I continue not to be very good at it. It's like, you know what? I'm not buying into this. It's ponytails and pigtails all day. And then I started going to college, and I remember putting in braids. I always
Mhm.
wore natural, right? And then I put in braids, and I got this different response from people. And they're like, "Ooh, you look so pretty. You look so whatever." And I just kept those braids in for 6 years. And then I had an experience in college. I pledged a sorority, and I was taking my braids out. And I happened to have half my head done and half my head braided, and I showed them, and they laughed like it was funny, and I was traumatized.
What?
And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm never going to be without this long hair because clearly it makes me fit in. And
Mhm.
then being like the fledgling militant that I am, I was like, no way. I'm not doing that forever. So I undid the braids, wore natural. Thank you, Lauren Hill, for making it okay to look the way I did, and Macy Gray.
Yep. I remember you when we first met, you had the big fro, and I was like,
Yeah.
damn,
And
rocking her fro. I love her.
that was after I shaved my head. So I had,
Mhm.
after the braids, I had locks down to my back for 10 years. And then I shaved my head and said, okay, for a year, I'm just going to keep a short fade. And I did that and then just went to the afro. So I just resisted. Hair is so loaded for us Black
It
women.
totally is. It
But
is.
it's
I
like, it
mean,
does like you said, it marks a transition. I also feel like it puts too much on us, too much like pressure on us for it to mean
mhm,
something when sometimes it's just hair. We just
it
want it
is.
to be nice.
Yeah. And it's also very freeing, to be able to constantly change your hair. We're like chameleons, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
Your hair helps you fit in or fit out or get out of
Yeah.
situations that are not good,
Yeah.
but to just wake up one day and never have to think about it. I don't have to think about it. I want to change my hair. I'm going to do it tomorrow. You're not
Right.
going to stop me, you
Right. You're
know?
not gonna put your stuff on me about what my hair means. So
Right.
that's one of the reasons I even wear these. Shout out to Boho Locks, that brand. I love them. I put them in, I take them out. I put them in, I
Yeah.
take them out because I insist on you A, being able to see my real hair, and
Mhm.
B, not being like owned by my hair. It's hair. Okay. I,
Yeah.
I choose to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Even if I bought it and it's not growing out of my head.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And so this reminds me, like, there was one time I was at New York Sports Club. I had just finished teaching, and I think I took my braids off and then I put the braids back on, and people were so shocked. They're like, "Oh my God, your hair grew so fast." And I was like, guys,
Seriously.
really? You're an adult. But then I had braids in, and this one member comes up to me and he's looking at me very intently, and you can tell he's thinking. And he always takes my classes, and he's like, Mary, your hair is so becoming. And I was like, what? Like, your hair is so becoming. I was like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
But he couldn't even elaborate. He's just like, I don't know, but it's just so becoming of you. And it's always stuck in my head, because I think becoming can mean so much,
Yeah,
like,
like it's what's unbecoming if I wear it differently. I don't know. I could take that two ways.
right, exactly. I wasn't really sure, but then I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk away now, but thank you very much. I like my hair the way it is today. But I did want to tell you the story. I think we texted very quickly just about hair and skin color and Valentina,
Yes.
being biracial. So Angel is Puerto Rican, but he
Yeah.
also has European descendants.
Mhm.
His hair is very, very fine, you
Mhm.
know. And then, of course, I'm Kenyan, and my hair is very coily, very like thick and tight. So
Mhm.
we have Valentina, and her hair is like it's a mix.
Yeah.
It's wavy and fine at the same time. But I remember when she was, I think, 2 years old, I was over at his family's house, and someone in his family made the comment that, "Oh my God, she has the good hair," you
Mhm.
know? And I
Mhm.
got so upset. I was so angry. And I was like, "What do you mean she has the good hair? What are you trying to say? That my hair's not good?" You
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And so I was able to at least communicate this to Angel, and he was able to communicate it back to his family as to why they should not say that, especially to a 2 year old. If you continue to tell her that her hair is good hair,
Mhm.
then what does that mean? You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yes.
you start to like create these different scenarios in their heads of what is good and what is bad and what is better, and mine is better, and my mom's hair looks like this, you
Yeah.
know? So that happened a couple of times. And so when she was younger, we spent a lot more time with his family. They're all light in Bushwick, lots of Puerto Ricans. And so when she started kindergarten, we were looking through these photos of this black supermodel who's very dark, the Somalian one. I always forget her name.
I know who you're talking
And
about. She's gorgeous. Yeah.
she's beautiful. And then Valentina looks at the photo and she's like, she's ugly. And
Mhm.
again, I got so upset. I was like, what do you mean? What makes her ugly? Like, well, she's really dark, mommy. And I said, yeah, black people come in different shades,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So what is it? Is it just her skin that's making her ugly? She's like, I think so. I don't really know. So then I get on Google, go good old Google, and I start to find different photos of dark-skinned models. And I noticed a trend. All of the dark ones she thought were ugly,
Yeah.
and all of the lighter ones who were her complexion, she thought were very beautiful and very pretty with long hair.
Mm.
And I started crying. I started crying because I was trying to explain to her, what is beauty? What is your standard of beauty? But this one looks like your mommy. So does that mean your mommy's not beautiful? She's like, no, you're beautiful. They're just not beautiful. So again, I brought Angel in because at this moment, I really I wanted to yell at her, but
Yeah.
I also felt like I was a failure. Like as her African mom, as her black mom, I should have shown her all of these things. And I feel that had I exposed her to more brown skinned people growing up, maybe
Yeah.
she would have had a different concept of what beauty is and what beauty can be. But because that's not what she saw, that's not what she learned. So
Yeah.
I walked out of the room and I let Angel handle that. And I came back. I don't know what he said to her, but everything completely switched. But in that moment, I also decided, I was like, you know what? I do not want to raise my daughter in this neighborhood where she doesn't see people who look like her mom.
Right. Right.
So we moved
Yeah.
and we moved to Bed-Stuy. And I think that was the best thing that we ever did. you
Yeah.
know, because she started to appreciate her hair rather than straightening her hair. Now she loves her big, curly, and the bigger and the poofier her hair is, the better, and her style. And she looks at different women and she sees beauty in everything. But in
Right.
that moment when she was 5, that's when I was like, oh no, this is not happening.
Right. Well, you're
You
so
know?
lucky that you got that opportunity. I mean, this is a great segue into this, raising a biracial, a multicultural child. That's who Valentina is at this point. She's a Kenyan American mom, a Puerto Rican American dad, and she is this mixture living in America, right? And just in your defense, kids do know about race much younger than we give them credit for. They know the signals, the cues about what's beautiful versus not, right? And they
Right.
see it reflected back to them around the world. So I do agree with you that the best thing that you did was even move, because even
Mm-hmm.
as an adult, I can't tell you what it did for my spirit when I moved to New York and I saw so much variety of Black people and they were gorgeous. Because
Right.
where I grew up in Florida, I didn't have that. And I was like, oh my God, we really do come in all colors and sizes and we're beautiful. I mean, as an adult, I felt like just so like, oh, okay, this spectrum of beauty is much bigger than I thought. So
Mm-hmm.
representation it's
Key.
huge. It's
Yeah.
key. But you're so blessed to have been able to have that conversation with her and your in-laws, your relatives, early on, because you know your relatives were also raised with these cues, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing. Like, how do you deal? It sounds like you're able to catch yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't. We don't know what anybody else is saying to you or to Valentina, but how do you find yourself now, like, listening even more intently for these cues around her or even around yourself because of the kind of family that you have?
You know, I ask myself these questions all the time. I'm not purposely looking for it, like I'm not out to be like that person. Oh, they said something racist.
Yeah.
No, but when I do hear it, then I do discuss it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I'll be the
Um,
person for you.
huh?
I'll be that person for you. She said something racist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's totally fine. And you should. But again, it's just like if you do constantly look for it, then I feel like it's going to overcome your life. It's going to consume you,
Yep. You're not
and it's
wrong.
bad enough walking into a room knowing that you are different all
Yeah.
the time, like being reminded all the time that you are different. But
Right.
now I have to listen to everything that everybody says so that I can hear these little innuendos. Like, that's stressful.
It is stressful. You're right. You're right. I'm not saying it's good. It is like once you got the big reveal, you can't unsee it, So
Yeah,
you're just like, okay,
yeah.
carrying this around all the time. It's one of the reasons I think that, we try to emphasize here at Culture and Co. that it's about making differences beautiful. Like, Valentina shouldn't have to defend that she is a Black mother who's from a different country and raised here, and this, or a dad who, like, it should just be accepted and you shouldn't have to explain. And I think it
Hmm.
kind of goes back to the hair thing too. I don't know about you, but the audacity that people have to question us about our choices with fashion, or I've had people say to my face who are not Black, I liked you better with the other hairstyle. Like, call it out in public, or you don't look as good that way,
Wow.
you know?
Wow.
That's one thing. And then
Hmm.
I've had Black family members, like, I live in the Northeast now. In the winter, I get really fair, and they're like, "Why are you so white? You bleaching your skin?" And then when you get really Black, "Why are you so dark?"
That's my favorite. Every time spring rolls around, I run around and I tell everybody, even my white friends, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to get dark. And they're like, what? Darker
I
than
do want
that?
to get
I'm
dark.
like, yeah, Black people can too, and we enjoy it. Some of us really like being dark. Don't you like getting darker in the summer?
Oh
You
my gosh,
know,
Mary, I love you even more because it's the same argument. I'm like, I love darkness. I think it looks beautiful. So I think
totally.
that we should always talk about it. I guess it's just exposure and like reframing things for
Yeah.
people, you know?
Yeah. And that's the part that like I educate people on things like that. Yeah, we do the same things you guys do. We just happen to be a different color, you
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah. And
And
then anyone I notice that has any issues with my Blackness, one, I don't deal with you. If you don't understand me when I explain it to you the first time, I just don't interact with you anymore.
right.
I'm moving on. because what I'm currently doing in my life is much bigger and much more important than you.
Right.
And I've been around a lot of people like you, and I've come out of it stronger and better. Thank you very much for letting me know who you really are.
Right.
But
Right. Thank you for this. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So now that you're an adult, and I'm going to put you in the grown ass woman category, what part of yourself from your past, like your Kenyan culture, that you want to bring forward? Like now that you have carte blanche, things that maybe you didn't do anymore, or that you want the world to know about Kenya and being an immigrant that you want to bring forward.
Food, music,
Mm-hmm.
that's the stuff that I want to share with people. Because our house, there's always music playing, always Kenyan music playing. Everyone's always dancing, and our food is the most delicious food. Kenya is more than just the giraffes and the lions and the safari.
Yeah.
And so when I talk to you about me being from Kenya, don't talk to me about the safari. Ask me about other things, about the experiences that we go through living in the village, what it's like living in Nairobi, what it's like living in a hut, because we did. And
Yeah.
we also have Wi-Fi, we also have electricity and skyscrapers. And let's talk about things like that too. But mostly really just music and food. That's what I want to bring back home here and to share that with my daughter and her friends.
Yeah. What does Valentina love most about her Kenyan heritage? Is there anything that she really loves?
So she's so proud of everything. So they had a multicultural day on Columbus Day. They had, every kid gets to bring food to school and they get to dress up in the clothing from where they're from. And Valentina's like, I just want to wear the liso, which is a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
So she put on her uniform and she put on the liso and she's walking proud with her Kenyan flag. And my father made chapati and dengu, which is Indian bread,
Mm-hmm.
and in English it's split pea soup. And she brought that to school and she's like, yes, this is what we eat all the time and it's my favorite and my grandpa makes it the best. And this liso, like she just wouldn't stop talking about it. She's
Aww.
actually very proud to be Kenyan. She's also very proud to be Puerto Rican, and she'll tell anyone and everyone who
Good
wants
for
to hear.
her. Tell her
Yeah,
to own all parts of herself. She should not have to split herself for anyone.
absolutely.
Because I think that's an old way of like making kids choose of which culture to align with when they're multicultural. It's like, no,
Mhm.
I'm 100% all of these things all the
Yeah,
time, you know?
I know we're like running out of time, but one thing, just moving forward, not to cut you off. Her and I were talking on the bus the other day on our way from home, and she asked me what it's like to be Black in America.
Mhm.
And before that, she was like, well, because I'm mixed, most of my friends are mixed. And by the time I'm an adult, 60% of the population is going to be mixed. So I'm not going to have the same experience as you. I just want to know
Wow.
what it's like for you. And I was like, oh,
Oh, well
okay.
then. I
Yeah.
love her. She's very smart. And she's a new wave kid. So, she's the
Right.
next wave. So that's good. That's good to know that she's actually thinking about that kind of thing. We do have maybe 9 minutes, and that's plenty of time to discuss what's next for you professionally, personally. What's going on with Mary?
Mary is looking for the next transformation. This conversation was very surfacey. I was actually having a lot of anxiety because I don't like to talk about myself and my
No,
personal
you don't.
experiences. But I really want to because I know there's a lot that I could share with people. So I would love to write a book. That's next on my journey.
Mhm.
Um, Writing a book. I'm going to school to get my degree in human rights and English. And
That's
I'm giving
right, friend.
myself
She's
two
at
more.
Columbia University. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm giving myself 2 more years in the fitness industry, and then I'm gonna shut the door and just
Really?
focus on my next career, which is opening up an orphanage back in Kenya.
What?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is how we're ending it. I mean, this is huge. What? So in
yeah,
2 years, you're closing down your inimitable fitness career to open an orphanage in your homeland. What?
yeah. So I'm going to close it down in the sense that it's not going to be my full-time job, you
Okay.
know, so that I can focus on my next career path.
So will you be relocating?
I mean, I would like to relocate for a short period of time, but if I can operate from both countries, then that's the goal too, you know?
Oh
But I
my God,
have this,
Mary, this is awesome. This is wonderful. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, but I've always had this calling since I feel like since I was in high school. And I don't know if you ever feel like this. I don't feel guilty, but I'm very proud of where I came from. I'm very proud of what
Yeah.
the opportunity that I received while I was here. And I thank my parents every single day. But now, like, how am I going to give back? You know, I
Yep.
could keep going and make money here,
Yep.
but there are still lots of people back home that need help. And
Yeah.
so, with all the skills I've learned and all the connections I have, what can I do to give back and live a life that is more meaningful? It is meaningful now,
Yeah.
but even more, you know? So,
I know what you're saying. It's like the immigrant conundrum, right? You leave your country and then you're not putting any resources back into your homeland. You're just like acquiring resources here. It's
mhm,
definitely on my mind. I'm sure we're not alone in thinking that way. Yeah, and good
yeah.
for you for actually pursuing it. I would love to talk with you more about that. Well, let's do an episode 2 with Mary O. I'm down.
Yeah,
And then
no, let's
let's
do it.
focus on that. That will, light a little fire to make sure that we're on track. So let's
Yeah,
focus on doing it.
totally. No, I mean, the last time I was on someone else's podcast, I hadn't even applied for Columbia and I was nervous and I did not think I would get in. And so I was like, well, I put it out in the universe. It's there. Now everybody knows that this is what I'm going to do. And then I was forced to apply. I couldn't change my mind
Well, no,
and
it's
I
on
got
record
accepted.
now.
So here
It's
we
on
are.
record now. Well, Mary, where can people find you right now? I know that you are, guys, clearly we only have this much time the next couple of years to work out with Mary as intensely as she has been working out. Where can they find you?
I am everywhere. You can't run away from me. So I do not like being put in a box. I don't like contracts,
Mhm.
exclusivity contracts. So I've managed to build a career in different platforms. So you can work out with me at Life Fitness, which you should know this company. They make your treadmills, but
Mhm.
they're global. They're in 6 continents,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
6 continents. So you could work out with me there. You can work out with me right now at Lifetime Fitness, which is my home gym, and we can do one-on-one classes there. Just launched some classes with Daily Burn, FitXR, which is a virtual reality platform. And it sounds like I'm all over the place, but the truth is, I want everyone to have access to fitness. So whether you only have your VR goggles and you can spend $20 to work out, or if you want to and subscribe to Daily Burn and pay $100 a year. But no matter how much money you make, you should have the access to fitness. So you have access to me on multiple platforms.
And
And
they're
I'm
quality workouts, or not just these
absolutely.
workouts that are not going to get you to where you want to go. They're quality. I have to vouch for you for that. So we
Thank
have to
you.
wrap things up, but what do you want? Like, what would you say to your younger self or to a viewer who might be listening right now who is like you?
Keep going.
Mhm.
That's it. Keep going. Whatever you're doing exactly what you need to do. As long as you have a clear path, maybe your goal is not conventional. But
Mhm.
if you know what the bigger picture is and what you want to do, doesn't matter how you get there, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Just go with everything. Listen to your gut always. Listen to your gut. Listen to your instincts because your gut knows you. You were born with it from the beginning and it's never
Mhm.
going to leave you.
That's right.
And you know what? Struggling is part of growth. Just embrace it in the moment.
Yep. Can't have growth without the struggle.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. I'm not kidding. I want a second episode. No pressure.
30 minutes is not enough. I was just getting warmed up, you know?
Yeah, I know. So, like, we'll plan it for some months ahead. But thank you
Okay.
so much for your time, and I can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, kiss that beautiful girl for me. Hi, Valentina. Bye.
Bye.